Now, have you ever ran into an issue like where you chop a sample, you put the sample, you got the sample together, but you play something on top of it, but because of the texture, because you're playing something live and it's
Mm-hmm.
something dusty, that sample, it clashes? Has that ever
Yeah,
happened? That clash?
yeah, of
Mhm.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes instrumentation just doesn't work with samples unless you have that, similar instruments is what they were using back then. You
Right,
know,
right.
a lot of that stuff, that sound can't be duplicated, with what we have today. So yeah, it definitely clashes. You got to be really mindful when you're doing instrumentation over samples.
Right.
And I mean, you just have to know music basically. What's good?
Salute.
You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Rob DeNiro, what's cracking? Welcome to Strictly for My Diggers.
What's good with you, bro?
All right, I see you in a quieter place, and before you were traffic
Yeah,
and going in and out. And
yeah, I was moving around that day, bro.
how you feeling today?
Feel good, man. Feel
Uh,
good.
that's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm glad to get you back on or whatever, because we were chopping it up and having a great conversation, but a lot of technical difficulties. So we're gonna run it back like it never happened. So first and foremost, where are you from?
Phoenix, Arizona, born and
Phoenix,
raised.
Arizona. Okay, and that's where you're located at now?
Yeah.
Phoenix, Arizona. So describe the scene because I'm sure you probably stick out like a sore thumb doing the boom bap sample based hip hop out there.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, there's a lot of trap type
Hmm.
shit out here. That's really the thing.
Hmm.
Um, I said it before, man. The Mexicans out here, man, they're the ones that's really making a lot of moves on the hip hop scene, like the Arizona hip hop scene.
Hmm.
Those are the guys you'll see on the radio, really having their shit pumping. So there's not really a big boom bap scene here, especially when I first started. A couple of, I mean, I've been producing for years and years and years, but when I got onto the actual boom bap scene, there wasn't a lot of people from Arizona or any at all. So it's good to see where it's come to. We got some pretty good artists coming out of Arizona now. We got Maze Overlay, shout out to Maze. We got Mason Graves, shout out to him. Both of those dudes are making some high quality boom bap right now.
Right. Now wasn't the guy 50 Cent signed? Wasn't he from Phoenix? Was he from Phoenix, Arizona?
Who was it?
Hot Rod?
Hot Rod, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Is he
I mean,
active or something?
niggas wasn't really fucking with that.
He
Like,
wasn't.
you know what I mean?
They wasn't
Like,
rocking with him.
that shit came and went. So
Right, right,
I don't even
right.
recall a song from him. Not, no disrespect to him. I don't know the guy, but
Mhm.
I don't remember hearing much coming out of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He came and went back there. I don't know
yeah.
how that all happened. So how did you start making beats? What got you into the beat making thing? Were you rapping? Were you rhyming and spitting bars, or how did that come about?
So basically, I mean, I've been around music my whole life, so my whole family is into it. A lot
Right.
of people who play instruments, sing,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? So as far as music itself, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I got started in the church. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Okay.
Just being around musicians there and
Right.
soaking up as much as I could.
Right.
Um, so I went on to start playing instruments for myself,
Hmm.
and I was really more into that until I got to high school.
Right.
At that point, I wanted to become a DJ.
Okay.
But
Okay.
my pops, he wouldn't buy like all the equipment and all
Right.
that shit, records and all this shit. So that kind of died. but it kind of led right into producing
Mm-hmm.
because my brother came home one day with Fruity Loops uh,
Mm.
and started on the computer. I started playing with it. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
hella shit just came out. You know what I mean? A lot of music that was stored up over time, and I just took to it.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was probably 17, 16, 17. And I was doing a lot of producing with my boy A1. Shout out to A1 as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you said you started with Fruity Loops. Now, a
Mhm.
lot of producers, especially like the ones that were younger coming on the scene, a lot of them started with Fruity Loops or software because they couldn't afford hardware. Was that the
Yeah.
case with you all?
I mean, honestly, when I first got into this, I didn't know anything about making
Mhm.
beats, like
Right.
nothing. I think one summer I went to Boston and I got to hang with my cousin and
Mhm.
he was producing and he would show me like the keyboards and the old school samplers and shit and just a lot of big heavy equipment. You know what I mean? So that's all I really knew about producing when I first started actually producing. So I didn't know about the MPCs and the
Mhm.
machines and all this stuff. And uh, if I did know about it, I wouldn't have been able to afford the shit anyway.
Right,
So,
right,
you know
right,
what I
right.
mean?
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Fruity Loops was free. I could sneak it on my dad's computer and fuck with it while he was gone or whatever, you know what I mean? And so it was just the only outlet available. You know, later on I got into pads and
Mhm.
things of that nature. So
Right. So you went from Fruity Loops. So now what are you using now? What are you hardware now or still software?
I use the machine
Ah,
MK2.
the machine.
So
The
I got,
box.
yeah, I got it's right here.
Mm.
So
Okay. And how do you like it? Because I've heard like horror stories about it. I heard the pads are too stiff. I heard it just wasn't a great machine. There's only a few people didn't like it, and there's maybe one or two that's like, yo, they really rock with it.
I mean, honestly, I don't have a lot to compare it to. I never had a pad machine before this, but it does the trick for me. I don't ask for a lot out of it.
Mhm.
Um, so it's nice. I use it with Fruity Loops and they're integrated with Fruity Loops. So you
Right.
can actually open up machine inside of Fruity Loops and pad it out and do other shit. That's how I do it personally.
Okay, because I heard that machine is an all-in-one. Like you can do everything in it. Like you can mix, track vocals, and all that. Right? Is that correct?
I don't know if you can mix. I wouldn't be surprised though, because you can do a lot of shit within it. I mean, half the shit that you
Mhm.
can do, I don't even know how to do it yet. I'm
Right.
still every day looking at fucking YouTube
Right.
videos
Right.
and
Right.
stuff like that, trying to really master it.
Right.
But it has a lot of capability, you know,
So how long have you been on machine?
probably 4 years, three,
Okay.
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you got it down enough where you can make a beat
Oh
and,
yeah.
and keep
Oh yeah. Most deaf.
keep it
Yeah.
moving. Right, right. So I mean, you out there in Phoenix, Arizona. Why the boom bap? You could have did anything, but what was it about boom bap that because being out there, you could be much further if you did the West Coast, typical West Coast. But why the
Yeah.
boom bap?
I think honestly for me is because, like I said, I'm a musician first, and that's my background. You know what I mean? So when I really think about the sound of boom bap and why it resonates with me is because it uses a lot of soulful type of elements that
Right,
really appeal to what I like. You know
right.
what I mean? I fuck with soul music. Like I listen to shit from the 70s and 60s and shit like I'm just
Right,
in the whip. You know what I
right,
mean? Like
right,
that's
right.
just what I listen to. So um and that's always really been the style of music that I fucked with, really soulful, really deep sounding music, which converts over to boom bap, I think, better than say trap or
Right.
even a lot of West Coast music. Back in the day, would use a lot of synths and
Right,
things like that, and that's never been my sound. So
right. Gotcha. So do you think that soulfulness is coming from your background with the church?
yeah, I think it's part of that. I think that's obviously it. I think that's in all of us, really. A lot of the soul that Black people have in general comes from the church, if you go back, you know what I mean? But I think a lot of it is my mom too. She would be bumping a lot of different type of stuff like Switch, and she was crazy about fucking Bobby Brown. So I remember when that sound came around, and this nigga had beats and shit. He's singing on it, shit on with beats and stuff. So um, just listening to hella music with her young, you know, just develops your taste for what you actually are gonna end up liking. So I can see when I listen to what I like to listen to, it's a mix of that. It's a mix of raw hip hop. Because I remember when I first got that fucking flip mode tape and got that motherfucking got that purple tape, man. I mean, so you mix these elements together, and I think you get you get me, you know, Little Alchemist in there. It's my favorite producer. So, you know.
Yeah. So being from Phoenix, were you listening to any West Coast at all, or just strictly East Coast music?
I mean, everybody fuck with Snoop and Cube, and I mean, I fuck with that. Trust me, but I wasn't a deep into it West Coast fan where I know all these other guys. Like I knew the main niggas, you know, Snoop, Dre, Cube. That's what I was really dealing with. You know, obviously there's some really great musicians on the West Coast too. I mean, you got to remember Planet Asia. He's from Fresno. Spitter. You know, you got obviously Kendrick.
Yeah.
You got a lot of good spitting coming out of there, but back then it wasn't really about that, you know. So
right. Definitely. All right, so moving forward, okay, we know you're sampling. So are you in the crates or are you digging online? What do you prefer? Or is it a little bit of both?
I have some records, you know, I just don't have a lot of time to really get out there and be digging at record stores, you know what I mean? Got kids, but I mean, a lot of us, we all got kids, all us producers, but it's all about prioritization. And for me, you know, I have to spend whatever time I do have with my kids, with my family, you know, digging online. That's just more convenient, honestly, you know, other than the sound it gives you, you know, because obviously a record sounds better. I don't think there's much of a difference as long as you're making something fire. You know what I mean? I've never been one of those niggas that cared about that.
So now when you do dig for records, are there spots in Phoenix, a lot of spots, or is it like rare to find like record stores out there?
No, we got spots. We got a couple out here. The biggest one is Zia Records. They got tons of records there, but there's some smaller mom and pop joints out there too. So,
you know, people sleep on like the Goodwill, they sleep on flea markets.
Yeah, I got some records from Goodwill not too long ago. So,
right. Now, do you find like with digging online? I know, like with me, when I go digging, right, I find like you find a lot of surprises because you're digging, it's right there, you're digging, and a lot of times I don't really know the music. It's like, oh, I see the cover and I grab it. Whereas digging online, it's like I just type in a genre, you know, and I just have to, I don't have anything really to go by. It's like when I dig, this the cover, is how they dressed on the cover, you turn on the back. It's just something about digging with records that it makes it a little bit easier to find things. Do you find the same thing? Like, how do you see that?
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. I mean, I think sometimes when you digging, there's so much shit that you can't really focus in on one thing versus when you're in the record store, you holding it in your hand. You might even get over there and test it right there, see what it sound like, see what you might like real quick in there. Look at the cover art, you know, like you said, that's another way to kind of see if some shit's gonna be dope, you know, something you might be interested in listening to. So yeah, I mean, I agree with both sides, really. Like I said, I've never been a person who cared really either way. I'm more about the result and the end,
Yeah.
and making sure that's fire. Because there's some niggas that dig that are trash. There's some
Yeah.
niggas that dig. Some of your favorite producers is digging,
Right.
and that's just the way of the world now. So
You know, Clipto, I don't know if you're familiar with Clipto. He's a fire producer on
yeah,
the West Coast.
yeah,
He told me something that was really interesting. So he'll go digging, he'll take a picture of the record and go see if he can find it online. You know
that's
what I mean?
smart. That's smart.
Right. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty dope. You know what I mean? Go to the record store,
Smart.
take the picture, and then go online and see if he can find
Get that shit
find
for free,
and get the
right?
shit for free. Right. And get it for free
Exactly,
or
smart.
whatever.
Yeah.
Because I know like when I have beat block and I'm digging, it's like, you know what? I'm going to the record store. I'm going to the record store. I got $10. Now me, I'm a dollar crate digger. You know what I mean? I dig in a dollar crate. I'm not one that spends a bunch of money on records. You know, I'm not going to spend 80, 90, $100 on a record.
Right.
That's just me. But when I have that beat block, you know, it's like, okay, I can't find none. I've been playing around, typing in Russian soul or Russian jazz. I just can't find nothing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go dig. And I'm gonna dig. And I'm like, I got $10. I'm buying 10 records for $1 each.
Right, right.
Boom. And a lot of times you find a lot of surprises too. You know what I mean? When you dig, but on the opposite end, it's like I'm running out of room. I don't have any room for these records no more. I got
Yeah.
records under the sink, and that's the downfall with digging and having like
Yeah.
physical records. Like I got records all over the place under my sink. I got my bathroom is tubs of vinyl. I can't even take a shower up in that joint. You know what I mean? So, you know, I find that it's nowadays. Eventually, as a producer, you're gonna have to go toward digging unless you just got warehouses. You know?
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I agree with you. I think some of the best, I mean, I don't know what Alchemist and these other dudes do, but
Right.
I'm pretty sure they do some digging too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Top level producers. So, you know, it's all about honestly, it's all about what makes you as a producer get to the end result, which is, you know, like we said, some fire, you know.
Right.
Some people have to dig and hold it in their hands. Some people can do it all through the computer. So,
Right. Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right. So when you sit down to make a beat, do you have like, hey, I'm gonna make me a jazz beat, I'm gonna make me something hard, or does the sample dictate all of that? You're just playing something and whatever catches you.
yeah, I'm more like that. I'm more of a
Mm-hmm.
not really, I don't have a certain direction when I start in. You know, number one, what I do is I listen to massive amounts of samples and then I just chop them.
Mm-hmm.
Chop, 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 chop. You know what I mean? Just,
Right.
and then I'll go back to it later with all these fucking chops that I have all chopped in a certain way. You know what I mean? And then I'll start to build my idea once I let the sample just settle on me. Sometimes I'll chop and then I won't actually do something for a week later. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just the kind of person I am. I always siphon out shit. You like a fucking, you know, structure and stuff. So I produce the same way.
Right. Because digging online has got me kind of spoiled because see, I have the thing with digging online, right? See, with the record, I'm not going to let the whole record play to sample it all in. So I noticed with digging online, I can go to YouTube MP3 and I got the whole record there and I can just chop through the whole record.
Yeah.
Which makes it easier than when I was sampling off record, pulling it back.
Right.
Kind of, you know, it's like nowadays, like back in the day, you made beats with your ear, but now that you can see it, you're making beats with your eyes. You can see, okay, that's the part I need to clip off. You know what I mean? I need to move the thing. Do you agree with that? Do you see it like nowadays? You're always going to use your ear, but I notice like nowadays it's sight when you're making beats kind of like by sight. If you understand what I'm saying.
No, I understand. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think just in technology in general is going to make that shit more possible to be able to visualize what you're doing
Right.
as you make the beat, you know. So definitely, all the best dolls got an interface, where
Right.
you can see what
Right.
you're actually doing. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
because like you think about it, like the SB12, the AirStar 10, the MPC 2000. The windows were small, so you're
Yeah,
really looping by ear. And that's what I've been doing for years. But now that I switched over to the MPC Studio and I got this, the Mac computer,
yeah. Cut
it's
it
different.
perfectly right. Yeah,
Right, you can cut it perfectly. You can actually see it because you're playing. Okay, I need to put the marker right here.
right.
Well, now I'm feel like I'm making more beats by sight now than back in the day when it was really by ear.
Yeah,
You have to listen to the loop. Now you can see this is where the loop needs to be. This is where you need to put the, chop the loop or whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think that's true. I mean, at the same time, I think also it just depends on how you produce. Like I have a friend, my man Adrian A1,
Yeah.
and a lot of times we just come over here, we freestyle on the machine,
Mm-hmm.
and just record it. Actual, a live actual session. Everything we're doing on the fucking machine is
Mm-hmm.
recording into there. And then we just run with that sometimes. So it's all about that feel.
Right.
Right? I think what you're talking about is the feel. We used to hear it out, and that's what it was. We didn't have all this shit
Right. Right.
telling
Right.
us what
Right.
to do, right? But that feel is what you're trying to capture again, is
Right.
that feeling of it's so natural. Or even with music, it's good for it to be off a little bit. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to be perfect. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
But
Absolutely. And it's not supposed to be so clean.
clean,
Now,
exactly.
you mentioned,
Quantized.
right, absolutely. I mean,
Right.
hip hop has always been revolutionary. It's always been, controversial, or should I say,
Mhm.
So you say you have a certain chop in a particular way. Now, are you chopping in like half bars, milliseconds, bars? If you don't mind, how do you chop your samples?
It depends on the sample, but sometimes I'll chop it into 8 pieces. Sometimes I'll do 16 pieces. Sometimes I'll do four. If it's
Right,
like a vocal sample where I want the shit to play out, I'll just do
right,
it, fat chops like
right,
that.
right.
I mean, I've chopped stuff as small as fucking six. Let me see, 32.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone as far as 32.
Yeah.
So,
And have you ever ran into this issue where you're chopping, sometimes chopping takes a minute. You're chopping up this whole sample. You got 16 pads, 16 samples on the 16 pads,
yeah.
but you don't use all of those. Or you
Mhm.
chop it up, you take all this time to chop it, it's just not working.
Right.
Has that ever happened to you?
Of course. Yeah, that happens all the time. I'll
Mhm.
be listening to a sample and think, oh, this is gonna be fire when I get it on there. And then you get in there and it's just not it doesn't feel how you thought it would feel. So I'm not a person that's gonna force it.
Mhm.
I'll sit, I'll go 3, 4, 5 months without making a beat,
Oh wow.
So, it's not something
Mhm.
at this point in my life that I do every day. So
Mhm.
I can really marinate and really think about what I want to do,
Mhm.
even with one sample.
Right.
Maybe in your mind for 2, 3 weeks, and then you finally get in there, and then you can go. So
Right, right. Or you get a song and you're chopping through it, and then that you only get like 2 to 3 chops out of it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you
I've
can
been there
still make a
too.
fire beat out of it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
Those
yeah,
2, 3 chops. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
That
And
happens all the time. You get in there and you think, "Oh man, that's gonna be crazy when I chop it," and then you get
right,
in there and it's like, I don't know,
right,
it doesn't work with what
right.
it's got drums there, or it's got
Mhm.
something crazy right there that you don't
Right.
want in there. You know
That's,
what I
yeah, that's interrupting what you're
mean?
trying to do. Yeah, and I think
Exactly.
that can also be frustrating. So like when you are making your beats, what bars do you start with? Are you starting with 2 bars? Are you starting with 4 bars? Are you starting with 8 bars? Or 1 bar? How do you build your beats?
So I build them in like maybe 8 bars,
So you
uh,
start so you set the sequence to 8 bars.
8 bars, right?
Hmm.
And I'm making a really small loop, basically, whatever I'm doing. And then once I get that, then I might add something on top of that,
Hmm.
and just kind of build the beat.
Right.
Basically block by block. So
Right. Right. So now with the sample, do you play over the sample? Are you playing instrumentation, or is everything straight samples?
I have, I have. I mean, in the particular lane that I'm in right now, like being able to play instruments and stuff is not as valuable, So I don't use it a lot in this style of
Right.
producing, but I can play. You know what I mean? I'm
Right. Right.
fluent. I'm
And that comes
fluent
from the
in
church background.
just that, and just in general, just always loving music, and just wanting to be completely
Mhm.
covered in it at all times. So I grew up wanting to read music, I can read some music, and play instruments. That's all I ever wanted to do when I was young.
Now, have you ever ran into an issue like where you chop a sample, you put the sample, you got the sample together, but you play something on top of it, but because of the texture, because you're playing something live and it's
Mm-hmm.
something dusty that's sampled, it clashes? Has that ever
Yeah,
happened? That clash?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes instrumentation just doesn't work with samples unless you have that similar instruments is what they were using back then. you
Right.
know
Right.
a lot of that stuff, that sound can't be duplicated with what we have today. So yeah, it definitely clashes. You got to be really mindful when you're doing instrumentation over samples.
Right.
And I mean, you just have to know music, basically.
Right.
You have
You
to
know,
know theory.
right. And you know what I found? That back when I used to, add a lot of instrumentation over the samples, that to sample yourself playing, because you can do a
Yeah,
lot more with that sampled sound. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
true.
Filtering it, dirtying it up, and things like that.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, so just record a session into
Mm-hmm.
it. For us, we do it in Fruity Loops. So you can record a whole session of you playing,
Right.
save it, and then run your effects, whatever it is you want to do to it, chop it up,
Mm-hmm.
all that. So
Yeah, that's dope. So now, when it comes to drums, where the drums coming from? Are those coming on vinyl? Or are you buying packs? I mean,
I just got a collection of drums over so many years, like
right.
15 years of all kinds of different stuff. Is some of it's cut right off of records and shit. Some of it is packs. I mean, my brother he's the type that just floods you with hella shit.
Right.
Shout out to my brother Bishop, by the way. But he's the one that really was always providing me with sounds and
Right.
that type
Now,
of thing.
do you find that you have all these drum sounds, but you have your favorite like 5 or 6 that you always go to because it just goes with every beat you make?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think when you have a huge sound library in general, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean. You get so much shit, you get lost in it.
Right.
You can't really focus on.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have favorite, favorite drums, favorite
Right.
types of samples.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, definitely that's true.
And it just works. And you don't, you got, I mean,
Yeah,
some people have 800, 900 drum sounds, but
yeah.
when it comes to making them beats, they got those
Got
go
that one folder, right, that
one
you always
folder that
go
they
to.
go to that just works.
Yeah, true.
It just works. Now, when it comes to bass sounds, for bass lines, are you playing that? Because you say you're not a player. Are you playing your own bass line? Are you sampling? Are you filtering the bass line? How does that work?
Mostly I get the bass line out of the sample.
Okay.
Definitely try to choose samples that have nice bass lines in it that you can basically fatten up and make it sound, more, accentuate the bass sound of the sample.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of that. But I mean, I've made like, I don't know, 1,000 beats since since I was a kid and stuff. And I have beats that are nothing but instrumentation,
Okay.
bass, everything, you
Right.
know. So it's just different styles, right?
Mhm.
Um, I just happen to have a couple of different uh, skill sets I can go to, but it just depends on the beat.
Right. Now, do you think every beat needs a bass line?
I don't think so.
Mhm.
Trying to think of one that I love that didn't have a bass line. I mean, they're everywhere. What what can you say? But I think you can definitely have a dope beat without a bass line. I don't think you have to have it. You know.
Right, right, true indeed. So now when it comes to drums, right, and sampling and getting your drums, are you constantly playing your kick, snare, hi-hat, or do you ever just loop, take a drum loop or a drum break and just loop it?
Yeah, it depends. I've done both. Straight up drums. My own drums,
Right,
my own pattern,
right.
everything like that. Got a ton of beats like that. I have some beats with loops. It just I think I have access to both, right? And what I do is I just fit it to the sample. So,
Right.
whatever I'm
So,
doing with the sample, I just kind of match it. Okay, that sounds dope with a drum pattern versus
right,
my
right.
natural
Because I was
drum.
like, how do you know when to put that drum break or to it, or to bang out your own drum pattern? How do you know, like, okay, so,
I don't know. I don't know if there's an exact answer to that. It's just a feel, really. I'm not a technical producer. I'm
right,
more of a technical musician, more,
right.
right? So a lot of what I'm doing is just listening and feeling whatever it is.
Feeling,
So
yeah, the
a
feeling
lot of
producer.
times I'll try both,
Right, right.
and just whatever.
And it's crazy because I say this all the time on this platform. I said, there's the feeling producer, there's the technical producer. And the
Hmm.
technical producer, to me, I see a lot of the technical producers. Those are the ones who are selling like drum kits. Those are
Right.
the ones that you see doing the tutorials on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because they're so technical. You know what I mean? But a lot of times their beats are not really dope, but
Right.
they'll show you tricks and they're the algorithms and you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, that this tick, move this over. And like I said, there's some of the drum kits that they have the tutorials and things like that. But then you got the feeling producer, who are the guys who are out here producing the beats,
Yeah.
artists. I notice, a lot of those technical producers, they're not working with artists or
Yeah.
putting out instrumental albums, but they are the ones that you can go to get the ill drums from, to get the
Right.
ill
Right.
sample kits from, or to learn something from, as far as how to freak your machine better and learn tricks,
Hmm.
you know, and things like that. So I haven't had too many technical beat makers on here. I've always had a
Yeah.
lot of feeling beat makers on, because I'm a feeling beat maker. I'm not technical at all. It's all what
Yeah.
sounds good and what sounds good to me and my ear. Because what we're doing as beat makers, I feel, is, a lot of us. I know I'm not an instrument. I don't do it whole lot of instrumentation. So I'm showing off my ear,
Yeah.
per se. It's a simple bass beat maker. We're dealing with our ear and whatnot. So now with the drums, are you stacking the drums?
I have. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't have a general. There's nothing I'm gonna be able to say. Oh, I stack drums all the time, or I do this all the time, or I do that all the time. Every time I come in, I might make a beat completely differently every time.
Right.
So
So,
it
mhm.
just depends on what I want to do for that day, really, and how it feels, really.
Right.
You
So what really comes first for you, the sample or the drums?
Um, I like having the drum first because that's going to give you really the feel of what you're about to do. I haven't always done it that way. Sometimes like I said, I'll just chop hella samples and then come back to that sample later and
Right.
sequence it and all that. And then I'll build the drums behind it.
Right.
Um, sometimes I'll just, like we were saying earlier with the drum loop, sometimes I'll throw on a drum loop and
Mhm.
then do my sample behind that.
Right.
So
Because I know with me, like, if I start with the sample first and I chop the sample and then I play out the pattern for the sample, most likely the drum is going to be me tapping it out.
Right.
Right? Now, if I start with the drum first, for the most part, I'm looping a break.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Same here. Right.
Right. And like I said, I go through phases where sometimes I'm in that phase where, hey, I'm finding all these dope drum breaks and I'm just looping it and finding something that's rocking, because I noticed one thing: when you tapping it out, I'm not a drummer. All that boom, 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 it gets boring.
Yeah, stiff. Yeah.
Right. With all that, that sounds dope and really can bring a little bit more motion to your beats. But like I said before, if I start with the sample first, chop the sample up and play out the pattern or the sequence or whatever, most likely it's going to be the boom, banging the drum out. But if I start with the drum, it's definitely going to be a drum break.
Yeah.
Know?
I mean, one thing I add is, you can always, I do a lot of chopping the drum break too, and then resequencing it the way I like it. You know what I mean? So you can also do that.
See, I've never tried that. So when you say you're chopping the drum break, so you might get a drum break that's like, what, eight bars? 4 bars?
Something like that, yeah.
And you're not chopping the individual sounds, so you're chopping that part. And then
so
boom, that part.
Yeah, you're chopping every sound in that drum pattern. So the kick, the hi-hat, the snare, the cymbal, whatever the fuck is there, in sequence. You're chopping it in sequence, and then you can turn around and move stuff around and switch shit around to make it sound how you want. You could take stuff out if you want. There's just a lot more freedom when you chop the break.
Right. Because I never knew how to do those, like the heat makers, how they had them rolling drums and then the build up. I just never knew how to do that.
Yeah.
I never, and I always wanted to know, how the hell do they do that? I'm like, yo, is that a drum loop that they're taking? Like a drum break they're taking? Like, how do they do that? I still haven't figured that out,
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of making the beat on a really fast tempo. So when you sequence it, it sounds like a drum roll, like a really fast drum roll if it's on 172.
Boom, boom, boom. The way they program the drums, it was like that heat maker sound was just, it was amazing or whatever. So I'm gonna ask you this question. What do you think your weaknesses is as a beat maker, that you need to work on? Like, I'll tell you mine is bass lines.
Yeah. I think for me, I think I need to get more technical, continue to work on the MK, the machine, and learn how to use it a lot more. That's what I've been trying to do, just learn something new every day and keep on building that. Because if I can be the technical and the feeling producer, then I got something. So definitely just getting more technical, similar to how I am with instruments and things like that. Just translating that a little bit to the producing.
Right. A dope channel to get that'll give you the technical aspect is this brother named Very Sick Beats. Yeah, like I said, when I go through a beat block or whatever, I'll watch his videos. Let me learn something new.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you heard of Very Sick Beats?
I haven't. Nah.
Yeah, go to his page. He's really technical guy, but he'll show you. Oh, let me show you how to do an alchemist, how he does a double time, or let me show you how what's the name records in 5/8, instead of 4/4, and things like that. And it's very interesting.
IG.
Yeah, he's on YouTube. His YouTube page. Very Sick Beats. Yeah, Very Sick Beats, and he has a slew of tutorials. How to do boom bap drums, or and how to put swing in your drum. Things like that. When you have those beat blocks, just learn a skill set. I think that's pretty dope. So let's go into the business of beats. You put out the Black Colleone album with what's the brother's name? Don't tell me. Ice Lord.
Yeah.
That's when I first heard of you, and I was blown away.
Yeah.
I was blown away by that album, man.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
That album, the beats on there was just so fire. So how did you link up with him?
Um, I mean, when I first linked up with him, I think I had really been on the scene for maybe
Mhm.
a month or two. Um,
Okay.
I don't even know how it came about. I think I posted a beat.
Mhm.
He came in and said something.
Mhm.
I went back and listened to some of his shit. I was like, oh, fuck, this shit fire. Because he had another, I don't know if you checked out his first album, History of the Guillotine. It's, produ-
No, no, I gotta check that.
it's produced by Prospect.
Okay.
Uh, and so I heard that. I said, okay, this is up my alley right here.
Right.
We ended up connecting, and I mean, it happened so fast. I sent him a pack of 8 beats. He liked all 8 and recorded on all 8,
Wow. So
or however many. I think it was 8,
yeah.
something like that.
So when you gave him 8 beats, he 2-tracked them?
I don't know what he did with them.
No, did you know what I'm saying? Did you give him stems?
Nah,
Separate?
no, I gave him like just the whole beat.
Right.
Shit was not stemmed out or anything. I just gave him the whole wave file.
Right. So
And
you never mixed the beats down or nothing like that. And
nah, he had this guy do all that. But as far as I know, they didn't mix off stem.
right,
They just
right. Yeah, they couldn't
mixed.
separate the sounds.
Yeah, right.
So
So
they
they
had
just
to basically mix the vocals to the beat.
to the beat, right?
That yo, that sounds damn good. If it's someone who gave you some unmixed beats that weren't mixed and
Yeah,
tweaked and EQ'd and
that's
all of that, yo, that was a dope. I love that project to this day.
thank you, man. I wanted it to sound like that, like Dusty. You know what I mean? Everything is just cringy on this album.
It was,
So
and he was spitting his ass off on that joint.
yeah,
Oh
he
my
did his thing.
goodness.
Shout out
Yo,
to Ice Lord,
yes,
man.
shout out to Ice Lord. Peace to Ice Lord. Is there anything in the works with Ice Lord again anymore?
No, we haven't connected in a while. I mean, we
Right.
still talk and everything, but he's got a lot going on with the Mussolini and his people over there, and they're building that up.
Mhm.
And nowadays I'm not making as much music
Right.
as it was before. So
Right.
no, we don't have anything coming.
Right. Right. Right.
We've talked
So,
about it. We've talked about it before, but never been able to connect a part two there.
so are you in the business of selling beats to artists, or you rather just work with one artist and do the splits with them?
Um, I'll do both. I mean, if the price is right, I'll sell a beat. But
Mhm.
a lot of times it's got to be a nice price because,
Mhm.
that might be something that I might put on one of my albums. So I
Right.
look at that. I look at it that way.
Mhm.
Um, but I will sell my beats at the same time. I have, um, as far as working with one artist, that's really where you lock in, I think, and you make the best record when
Mhm.
it's one producer, one rapper,
Right.
least amount of features. I don't even think we had a feature on Black Angel. So
Right. I'm gonna play that album tonight. You got me thinking about that album. I'll play that album tonight. Oh,
salute.
yeah, yeah. So, because I noticed like a lot of the beat makers I've spoken to, the trend seems to be working with the artist or the group or what have you and
Yeah,
doing the splits. It seems like that's the way you really make your money. That era of selling beats is kind of, I guess, dwindled a bit. I don't
yeah,
know, because that era of getting 20,000 a beat, that's done. That's
yeah.
that's
So
dead. That's
yeah,
that's pretty much over with. But I've noticed now you notice you see a lot of producer MC collabos,
yeah, yeah,
and
for sure.
they'll do it with the artist. And what do you prefer?
Um, I prefer to work with one
Hmm.
one MC.
Right.
I've walked in with a couple of them, and we've done good work. But
Hmm.
like you said, that's the way to do it nowadays.
Right.
I think you make the best music when you do it that way versus albums that have a whole bunch of different producers on them.
Hmm.
The
Right.
sound can come out kind of scattered.
Right.
So I think, yeah, that's my preference, is to do it that way.
Right. So we discussed like we had the technical producer, the filling producer, right? I said the technical producer, he's the one making the the drum kits, the sample packs, things like
Yeah.
that, doing the tutorials. We said the filling producer is the one that's producing for different artists, you know, doing the splits, working with an artist. But then we have another producer who is the instrumental album producer,
Mm,
you know, where they're not working with artists, they're just putting out instrumental albums.
yeah.
Has that happened for you? Because I don't recall you putting out any instrumental albums. Have you done that yet?
Yeah, that's actually how I got out
Mm,
on the scene to begin with. Is I
okay.
was coming with just
Mhm,
instrumental albums for like the first
mhm,
4 or 5 months that I was out, or that I came
mhm,
out or whatever, or came on the scene. So I started off with the Carolyn album, or sorry, the Karen album. Forgot my own shit.
mhm,
I got an album called Robert DeNiro.
mhm.
That's a instrumental album, and I have another one called Ginger, instrumental album as well.
Now, do you think putting out an instrumental project is one of the best ways to get noticed by MCs? That if you
That's
want to
how I
work with?
got. That's how I got noticed by MCs. So that's the only thing I can, you
Mhm.
know, get behind. You know,
Right,
I I think you have to put out instrumental albums that, number one, show a whole bunch of different types of beats that you can make,
right,
and then I think MCs get a feel of how you put together albums as far as theming it, curating it,
right,
what your vision looks like, and then they know, okay, this is a nigga I can work with because his vision is the same as mine.
right.
And so what I would do in the beginning is I would come out with these theme type albums,
Mhm.
just to show niggas like this is how I would put together an album if it was me and you know what I mean, doing
Mm.
something. So
Ah, very interesting. So, with these instrumental albums, like how many beats do you think an instrumental album should have, and how long should the beats be?
um, I don't think there's any set. Uh,
Well, to keep it interesting, you know, to keep the album
yeah,
interesting and keep the people
yeah,
engaged.
yeah. I think, let me just back up right there, because if Jay Dilla came out with a 10 track instrumental album, we would all love it, right? Because
Right.
he's Jay Dilla, and
Right.
you know every
Right.
single one of them bitches is gonna be powerful, right? So
Absolutely.
I think it depends on who it is.
Mhm.
But generally, like my instrumental albums would be like 10 or 15 tracks, something like that. I think the Robert De Niro album had more on it, but it would be, there would be
Mhm.
skits and stuff like that
Right.
in between to really make it interesting. So,
So, all right, 10 to 15 tracks. So each track was like a basic song.
mhm. No, no, no. So what I do is, I personally believe that you shouldn't have super long beats on instrumental albums, because the person is going to want to eventually, if they don't like the beat, they're going to go uh, to the next song.
Mhm.
So I think you keep it short for me, 2.5 minutes, something like that.
Right.
Um, Not like 5 minutes, unless it's just fire and you got a lot of change ups and you're
Right.
keeping it interesting, and then you can go longer, I guess. But unless niggas is freestyling at a party and shit, I don't think niggas is gonna wanna just listen to a 5-6 minute long beat. Like,
Right.
you know
Right.
what I mean?
Right. So when you make these instrumental albums, are you making these albums for MCs to freestyle to, or is it more for lovers, people who just love beats, just love listening to beats?
Yeah, I think it's more for well, it's for both, really, because obviously when you making beats, you want to inspire that type of shit, like where
Right.
niggas just get in a cipher and just start rapping to it. Obviously, we all want that, right?
Right.
But when I make it, it's more like I make my albums like stories, basically. There's always a theme, there's always that built in it,
Right.
cinematic built in it, and I want people to not just listen to the music but also see the theme as well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So do you feel you have more control over the music and how it's put out? I mean, because like I said, working with artists can be a pain, especially when waiting on them to finish the song.
Yeah.
You're working with one artist, he's dragging his feet, doing songs, or even if you're doing your own, let's say your own quote unquote chronic album with
Right.
different MCs on it.
Yeah.
And you're waiting for them to get their verses. So you're like, you know what, screw it. Let me put these instrumental albums out because I have a little bit more control.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I've definitely run into that where I have people that just take forever or
Mhm.
just drag their feet, you know what I mean, for whatever reason. So definitely have gone through that. Um, and a lot of times, to be honest, I just move on from that person. Luckily I've been pretty blessed not to have a shortage of niggas that want to work with me. So, if one nigga is dragging, I just
Mhm.
start working with the next person, that
Right,
wants to work.
right.
Uh,
Now I'm gonna ask you another question because I'm not too sure because I haven't I'm not in the loop. I'm not aware. But have you dropped a chronic album yet?
yeah, I have I have an album called 3 a.m. in Brooklyn that's got a whole bunch of different artists on it.
Mhm.
Let me think, what else do I have? That's the only
Mhm.
various artist type album that I
Right.
have. Other
So,
ones are all connections with just one single MC.
so when it comes to that 3 a.m. in Brooklyn album, having all those different MCs, do you feel you have to come out of pocket and pay all these MCs, or is it like, hey, you give me a verse, I'll throw you a few beats? Does it work like that, or?
Everybody that was on that album did that shit off strength, so there
Mhm.
was no money exchanged except for Sky Zoo. I had to pay for Sky, but everybody else, uh, like I said, they just did it off strength. So I appreciate every artist that was on that album. We had a lot of people on that.
Right. Now, did Sky break your pockets?
No,
Okay.
This guy was super cool, bro.
Mhm.
Super fucking
Mhm.
down to earth. His feet wasn't what I would have expected
Right.
for where
Right.
Sky is in my eyes. Like, I think he's
Mhm.
one of the top niggas. So when I seen it was affordable,
Oh,
man, I
right.
had to salute that man.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. So you get these guys on it. They do it on the strength. Now you get to sell it and keep the profits. Correct.
um, so it depends. But for that particular album, everybody just contributed to what I was doing. So what I do is I give them splits on the streaming. So
Okay.
we all split the streaming,
Mhm.
and then Bandcamp or whatever. Obviously, I keep that, but
Mhm.
yeah, we split the streaming basically. Is the
Got-
way it's done.
Gotcha. So are you looking to do this full time? Is this something you do full time or?
Nah, I don't do this full time.
Mhm.
I got a whole another job trying to get another one after that. And
Right.
no, I don't do this full time, but I'll never go away from music. I'll always be doing it.
Right.
So
Mhm.
just really depends on me.
Right.
Some days I don't want to make anything, and I'll go a month, 2 months without making anything at all. And then
Right.
sometimes I just get hot and just
Mm.
start producing crazy, 10, 15, 20 beats in a week and shit like that. So um, it just depends, but
Right.
I'm not full time.
Right. And you know, it's crazy as we talk, there's also another lane of beat makers, right? Who
Hmm.
just sell beats on like BeatStars.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you feel about that? Have you, I don't know, because I was thinking about doing it, but I have mixed feelings because I feel like, like there's people like I don't want rhyming over my beats that I'm never
That I don't know.
feeling. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
exactly. Yeah. No, I'm the same way. Like, you buy a beat for me, it's gonna be exclusively to the person, and I'm gonna
Right.
make that
And
decision first if I even want to sell it to you.
right. Because it's like, no, because I was thinking, I'm tired of these. You get that's a beat maker. We get frustrated. We're tired of trying to, either give these tracks to these artists and they're sitting on it and not doing nothing with it,
Yeah.
or they act like they're doing you a favor and things like that, these big name artists. So it's like, you know what? Screw it. Let me get a BeatStars account, sell
Hmm.
these beats for like, $50 to $100
Yeah.
or whatever. But then it goes back to like, damn, do I want any old body just buying a beat from me that I'm not feeling and they put out some
Yeah.
shit and your name is attached to it?
Yeah. I mean, it depends on who you are and what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
If you're a producer with money always on your mind, then that's the way to go, you know.
Right,
But if you're more about the end result and how that sounds,
right,
then I think you tend to be more like me and you know
mhm,
what I mean? Where
right,
like,
right, right.
not just selling my shit to just anybody.
Right, right, right. It's like beat abuse. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right,
like,
right.
oh,
You can't do shit about it because he
right,
paid
right. And
you.
the thing is, he paid $50 for this beat. He might put
Right.
it with some dude in Italy, and this dude becomes a mega superstar
Yeah, yeah.
and get rich, and then you only sold it for $50.
$50, right?
You're like, yo, and this is a hit, like in Italy, like a big
Hmm.
international superstar, because he bought a few beats from you. You know what I mean?
Right,
You thought
right.
you was getting all by getting $500, selling
Hmm.
them, 10 beats for $50 each.
Facts.
And then now
Hmm.
this dude's a mega superstar off that album he made using all your beats, and all you got is $500.
Hmm.
That's
That's
another
a
thing
L.
you gotta
That's
look
a
at
L.
too. You know what I mean? Because we don't know who these people are that's buying these beats, and
Yeah.
might be some dude in Scandinavia that's the fucking man out there. You know what I'm saying? And he cops your beats. You know what I'm saying? He cop you give a little discount, and you just thinking whatever, whatever. He just added it in his cart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right, right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
It's like wow, and then so yeah, I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do it. So what's next? Any projects coming? Anything you want to plug before we go?
No, I'm working on an album right now. I'm not even gonna put
Mhm.
it out there, you
Okay,
know.
okay. Keep it
I'm
under
not
wraps.
even put no info out there until it's done. I'm
Okay.
gonna take my time with it, and
Mhm.
this will more than likely be my last album that,
Period.
that I'm gonna put out there. Yeah, producing. So I'm gonna take my time with it, get the right artists, and it'll be dope
So
when
this
it
is your
drops.
Dr. Dre. This is your Dr. Dre Chronic album that
So no, I already have an album like that.
right.
Um, this is gonna be that on a lesser level. I'm not gonna bring 15 features. It'll be maybe 5 or 6 people that I really fuck with, and
Mhm.
um, the rest instrumentals basically.
Okay.
So
Right.
uh, we'll see. We'll see how
So
it
this
goes.
is really a Rob De Niro instrumental project with a few MCs
But
co-starring in it.
exactly, exactly.
Oh, okay, okay. That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. That's dope. So who would you like to work with that you haven't worked with that you would want to have on this project?
Hmm. Shit. I mean, how high are we shooting here?
I mean, go for it. You know what I mean?
Shit, man. I'm a big fan of Willie the Kid.
Yeah,
Big fan of Rock
of
Marcy.
course.
Um, shit. Earl Sweatshirt is dope.
Okay,
A lot
absolutely.
of lot of dope, man. A lot of dope out there. In our immediate community or whatever. Um, I don't know. I've worked with a lot of people, so
Right.
I think just if I'm trying to achieve something I haven't already done, I think somebody like Willie the Kid, Rock Marcy,
Yeah.
Mayhem Lauren is dope as fuck. I fuck with him too.
Yeah.
Man, obviously one day I love to work with Nas.
Yeah.
That's
You
like
know what
dream.
Nas needs, and this is my opinion, Nas needs to come back home
Yeah,
and get with people like Camouflage Monk, V
mhm,
Dawn. Okay,
yeah,
and I know he don't want to do the same thing over. He don't have to go back to Premier, Ross Professor, Pete Rock.
yeah,
All right, cool. But he needs to get with their disciples.
yeah. It's a
And
whole
that,
generation of
right.
new, right,
Derringer. You know, those type of dudes, and I swear they will lace Nas. Nas needs to give us that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think he got close with the Hit Boy shit.
Yeah.
Close, like not quite
right.
Nas, but pretty. Actually, that new shit he got. What is that shit called? Magic. That shit's fire. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
That
That's
shit's
fire.
dope.
That's fire. But I would love
Close.
to see Nas get with the producers that's out now. You know what I mean? The disciples of Large Professor, Pete Rock, you know what I'm saying, and DJ Premier. Those, you know, get with their quote unquote their sons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of them, man. Lots to link with me, and I'll connect them with you and everybody else. Like, you know, these are the guys you need to be rocking with. Get with Clipto, get with J.R. Swift, you know, get with Wavy the God, get with Spanish Rand, you know, get with these guys right here. You know what I'm saying? And it'll put Nas back where he really supposed to be.
Right.
Even Jay, I feel Jay need to do the same thing.
Yeah. Just go back to the roots. That's all.
Go back to the roots and get these new these younger producers that's out there in the vein. You ain't got to go back to Clark Kent and Ski Beats. That's cool. You did that, but come get they disciples. You know what I'm saying?
Or even somebody like Alchemist.
Or Alchemist.
Like it's probably a lot to ask for Jay to reach all the way down to where we're at. But somebody like Alchemist, that's somebody I was surprised he never worked with them before or not. Nas got a couple joints with Alchemist, but he's got some shit with them. But
and one thing about Alchemist, man, it's like you give him a West Coast, a East Coast, a down South artist, like it's like he's not a blend in. He just from working with, you know, on the West Coast with Evidence to Mobb Deep to Currency.
Right.
You know?
Well, he's from the West Coast, so it's
of course.
You know,
that's gonna always fit. Right. But then
Al's versatile.
Right. It's just his versatility. Hands down, you can honestly say that he may be one of the best in the top 5 producers of all time.
Yeah, for sure.
And you can't, I mean, and what he did with Rock, I don't know if you heard the new Rock album. Oh my
God. I haven't. It's fire.
Man, listen. Man. Shout out to Alchemist, man. So yeah, that's dope. But anyway, Rob DeNiro, I want to thank you. You know, we had some technical difficulties, probably like last year or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't forget about you. I did not forget about you. And I had to get you on this episode. I had to give you your flowers because that's what this platform is about, to celebrate, you know, you sample-based beat makers. Because a lot of times we don't get the props we deserve.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these MCs, they take us for granted. You know, they feel we supposed to be starstruck and just give them a beat and things like that. You know, and it's like a lot of these guys are touring while we're going to work on Monday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Off our beats and making a killing and things like that. So it's like, this is the platform, you know, to catapult you next to the artist so they can match a face to the name, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Things like
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. I'm honored, man.
Yeah, man. I thank you so much. So we'll definitely keep in touch. And now, once again, I want to thank you for being on Strictly for My Diggers.
Appreciate you, bro.
I'm gonna tell you now, I ain't no holy individual, but I am righteous. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna steal from you, I'm not gonna cheat. I'm gonna tell you what you like.